No, we could always go for a very basic one, maybe Twitter. So let's model Twitter. So I'm going to first start off by making a virtual environment. I just like calling my virtual environments venv. That's just me. You don't have to call them that. Then I need to activate it. And then we can start installing things. So in this case, I'm going to install Django.
What?
Did someone just say something?
Tom's got his microphone unmuted.
Oh, okay. All right, so we have Django installed, and then we need to start a project. So we can call Django admin, start project. Let's call it Twitter Platoon. Oh,
You may have to mute him. He's got his headset off.
one sec. All right, so I've created a project called Twitter Platoon. I'll cd into that and open it up. You can see here we've got our settings.py, all of this good stuff. And now we need to make a database, right?
I'm just curious, can we scroll down to like line 70 in the settings there, line 78?
Sure, one sec.
I guess 76 in there, but all right. So in here, they're only having the engine name. Okay, because I know in one of the other problems we're working with, they had an extra set of values after the engine and name. I think it had like a location or host and then a password or something. I ended up having to delete those, but just keeping the engine and the name, the fields, that should allow it to work. I just kind of curious as how exactly that gets set. It looks like it's automatic, but I wasn't sure if you pass in any defaults into your settings or if you have to manually change them in here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this is, every time I've used Django, this has just been how it's set up automatically, but one of the challenges may have different settings that I don't know about. But in any case, we don't want to be using SQLite 3 because SQLite, while useful for testing things out, isn't really what we're going to be using in the day-to-day life. Postgres is much more common. So we can create a database. Let's call it, Twitter. And then we need to install psychopg. All right, so it's already installed, great. Oh, wait a second, I'm not in my virtual environment anymore for some reason. That's weird. Not sure why it would do that. Sometimes it does, so we need to source // venv /bin /activate. There we go. And in this case, I could have kept running this without having to start my virtual environment because I'm not going to be using a different version of psychopg than I normally do. But, better safe than sorry. Never want to accidentally install something that I shouldn't be installing. But now that we've installed psychopg2, I should be able to change this from DB backend SQLite 3 to PostgreSQL. And the name of our database is Twitter. Any questions so far before we really get into the actual nitty-gritty of it?
Just on what you just did there with the database name, the whole OS path thing. That's only if we're using that package from a couple weeks ago, I presume, right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what you just did there with the where you got rid of the OS path and you just gave it the name of the database right there. Presumably, we won't have to deal with all the OS path stuff unless we're in a more sophisticated installation.
Yeah. One thing that psychopg does is it allows you to, it can connect directly to your PostgreSQL databases without having to use a relative path. But if you find yourself using a different type of database or a different setup, you may be having to deal with that.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, so let's start an app. Calling on manage.py, start app. And let's call this, let's call it just Twitter. And once we have that, we need to make sure Twitter is in our installed apps right here. Add a little comma there just for convenience if we ever need to add anything else to our installed apps. And now that we've done that, we can start creating our model. So what models, before we actually start coding, let's actually do a little bit of data modeling kind of all together. So what models would a Twitter clone need?
Users.
Yeah, definitely need a user. So users. What else?
Posts or
Posts
tweets?
or
Yeah.
tweets. Yeah, let's call them tweets. What else might we need?
I don't know. Would you have like categories or something for the trending? I don't know how the hashtags would work.
Yeah, and we could make like a hashtag or a tag. Let's call it tags. And yeah, I think those are good for now.
I've never actually really used Twitter, but I think I've tried to work something similar to supposedly recreating it. Doesn't they have an option if you like somebody's thing, you upload or you click like, and then you kind of go back through and be able to see who liked your stuff or something?
Yeah, that's something we could do in regular Twitter, is that so we could have likes be kind of a join table almost between users and tweets. We can add that here, and if we get to it, great.
What about retweets?
I'm not going to get into retweets right now because I feel like honestly, I'm not really sure exactly how to make that work. I'd like to keep this, relatively simple at the moment, just so that we don't have to get super bogged down. Just want to, model it out simple, and then we can worry about more complicated stuff as we go. So let's just create these one at a time. Let's start with a user. Inherits from models.model. And what fields would a user probably have? I know with Twitter, you have like your username and you have your handle. I always forget which one is which. I believe your username is the one with the @ symbol in front of it, and then your handle is the one that's your display name. Let's just go with that.
Other way around.
Oh, other way around? Okay.
Yeah, I think your handle has the @ symbol before it, and your username has no @ symbol before it, and you can change it.
Yep. Either way, I feel like we'd be using the same field, right? We'd probably want to using a char field for that. And what other things would we associate with a user?
Would they need your email address to register?
Yeah, you need an email in order to register for Twitter.
Age.
Does it keep track of your age?
I think you have to be at least 13 in order to use it.
Yeah, all right, might as well. So that's probably going to be in
for minors and stuff.
models.integer field. And I don't know if we can do like a minimum length, minimum value or something like that. That would be cool. Not sure. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, I don't think we can, I don't know if there's a minimum length. Well, we can also just Google it.
Can you
Might
use
say.
validators?
Yeah, we could also use a validator. So how could we validate? Yeah, maybe we could validate like a couple of things, right? We need to make sure that your age is above a certain age is above a certain amount, and let's say your username has to start with the @ symbol. So how do validations work? If anyone's gotten to that particular challenge yet?
Each field will take in a parameter called validators, and it's a list.
So
That's one, I'm sorry. That's if you want to do custom validators. And then I forgot the built-in ones.
no, let's take a look at Django validators and see what this thing says. So they have something here that, for example, checks if something's even. So if value is not is odd, raises a validation error. Then you can add it to the validators argument like so. So if we do something like, just do that up here for now. You need to say def validate age greater than 13. And then we don't want to give that an age as an argument. We'd say if age, why is that saying invalid syntax? What did I do wrong? If age is less than 13, then we want to say raise validation error, and we need to import that. Raise validation error. Oh, we need a parentheses there. Let's see how they decide it. They have this kind of, so this is the thing that is too low, and then params equals value. Right, let's try copying their syntax a bit. So done underscore, you could say just age is too low, comma, params equals age. And so then here we could say validators equals, and then you just add it as part of a list. So be validate age greater than 13. So in theory, if we try to create something that is with an age less than 13, it should not work. It shouldn't let us save it. And we can actually, start to test this a little bit. So we can do something like, so let's make a migration for this, so we can actually test it out. Manage.py, make migrations, model, Twitter. And we can take a look in migrations. We've got our first migration set up. And we can see what it's doing. It's got a fields, an ID, username, handle, age, and it's got that validator right there. And then if we do Python manage.py migrate, everything turned out okay. So now we actually want to be able to take a look at this and see, can we create a new user? And what happens if we try to create a user who is younger than 13? So while we're here, we may as well get our good PowerShell working so that we can actually, interact with things in a better way. So I'll pip install Django extensions. And I'll pip install IPython. And then in order to get this working, I need to go to my settings and add Django extensions as an installed app. And now that I've done that, I should be able to call Python manage.py shell plus -- IPython. So now if everything's working, I should first be able to see, user. So it exists, it knows what that model is. And if I do, user.objects.all, I should get nothing, an empty query set. Now let's try making a new user. So u equals user, username equals @CodePlatoon, handle equals CodePlatoon, email equals code@codeplatoon.org. And first, let's try it with a valid age so we can actually make it work. So if I do u.save, and then again check user.objects.all, I have one user object there. And if I do user.objects.first.handle, I get CodePlatoon. Great. Now let's try making an invalid user. So invalid user equals user, username equals @somebody, handle equals just a troll, email equals blah 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 @gmail.com, and age equals 11. If I try to save invalid user, let's see what happens. Uh-oh. It didn't give me an error, so that's not a good sign. The user.objects.all. Well, looks like that didn't stop it. So it looks like we need to do a little more work on how our validators work. So we added it to the validator's argument.
You got a red underline on it, underscore on line 13.
You're right, we do. And I think that's because I didn't use this particular thing that they had. So the Django utils translation import get text lazy as underscore. All right. Now I'm not entirely, I may need to run my migration again. We can see what happens when we try.
No,
All right,
I think you also, if the if statement isn't hit, I think you do need a return age also.
So else return, possibly. They didn't do that in our example here, but we can always do that right here. All right, so it looks like we were able to change the validator without having to update our database. So now I should be able to.
When you went to migrate, it said there's no migrations. So we need to make migrations first, then migrate.
That was my question. You didn't make them
right.
script.
Yep. Yep, no changes detected. So that's a good point, but it looks like that the validator isn't considered part of the database per se. So I'll make another invalid user. Now if I try to save this one, oh, come on. Okay. I wonder if maybe I don't want that. Let's try it one more way, and if not, I am not entirely sure what's going on.
Yeah, these validators definitely worked on yesterday's challenges.
I don't believe. Okay. There should be a method to check if something is valid, right? Is it just valid?
Wasn't it clean? I think it's like clean or something like that, or clean all. Maybe clean all.
Or clean.
No, let's look this
Or
up.
full clean.
Django valid. So there's a validate method. All right, but how do we check if something is valid? Did I not import validators? Is that something I need to do? I believe that's what I had to do. Let's try that. Let's see, what else am I missing? All right. Exit again. Run this one more time. And if not, I don't know. Ah, is valid. That may be what we want. Nope, that doesn't work either. There is an is valid method, but I guess it only works for forms, which is something we'll get to after the break, I think. Nope. Try one more time to save it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going on now. I feel like I've gotten everything at this point.
Now, can you show me your where you added it to the field at? Validate age greater than 13. It looks correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the full underscore clean method? So it'd be like user dot full underscore clean.
Sorry, user dot full underscore clean.
Yeah, when you're in the down there in the terminal.
So as in the user class or in a particular object?
Yeah, it'd be the user class.
All right, it says it's missing one requested required positional argument self. So I don't know, that's something I have to define in here. I'm not sure. I don't really know which method you're talking about right now, so I'm gonna look that up. So they have something here, so article.full_clean. So maybe that's something you'd use on a specific thing. So user.objects.last.full_clean. Let's try that. All right, so now we got our validation error. So what happens when I run that? So the question is, so they have something here that full clean will not be called automatically when you call your model save method. You need to manually call it when you want to run one-step model validation for your own manually created models. So it looks like they have something here. So try that accept validation error as E. So I'm not sure what that means. We got to put that here. So try. No, you wouldn't put that here. That's really very, okay.
Does that mean you have to overwrite your save method to force it to do full clean?
Yeah. Not entirely sure. So the second step, full clean, is to call model.clean. The method should be overridden to perform custom validation on your model. So they have example here, they have def clean, if self.status equals draft, raise validation error. Which doesn't really help us with the validators thing. Because these are all things saying like using self-clean to do that, and that has the validation there. But it's not really helping us with the validators itself. I'm going to see if I can find a more clear example. So they have something here. They have a validators equals that. And so they have a separate file for their validators, which is fine. In order to use the function, you need to have to import this django.core.exceptions. This seems pretty similar to what we did. Well, a lot of people said no. So let's try one more thing. And if not, I'm just going to move on to another topic because I got a lot of other stuff I want to deal with. You also create a custom clean form method and use the validator here. So looks like they did tough clean data equals super. That's using a form. Title equals title. Yeah, we can try it. So I guess that would, in that case, we would get rid of the, well, we can keep that. It's not going to change anything. So they did not sure what the, so if we're not doing with a form, I'm not sure what we do there. Maybe we can just try calling super. And then we can say, essentially just say if age is greater than 13 or less than 13, raise validation error. And we can copy all this stuff. Self.age. Let's try one more thing, and if not, so I'm also just going to delete all my users. Oh, I just don't want to have to keep on dealing with all these invalid users. Try making invalid user one more time. And if I do invalid user.clean, right? All right, we got a validation error there, but if we try to save it, let's see if it does the same thing. Yeah, it still saves it. All right. I'm not going to spend more time on this because we have other things I want to show. So we'll just accept that something's going wrong here, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Let's try making another model instead. So we also have tweets. So a tweet would have content. Yeah, models dot char field and so 260 characters they allow.
280.
280. And I don't know, that's usually about it, right? Does the tweet have anything else?
Maybe the time created.
Yeah, a timestamp. So like created at equals models dot. What would be the right field for that? Probably date time. And auto now sounds like it makes sense. Let's see what that does before we just use it. So Django date time field. Let's try finding that auto now. Auto now automatically sets the field to now every time the object is saved. Perfect. And the other thing is we'd want to make sure that a tweet is associated with a user, right? And I don't know how many people have gotten to the Django associations challenge yet, but this is going to be relevant. So we need to figure out how Django associations work. Because we can't, it's not as simple as just saying, you know, user ID equals user.id in this case. We need to be a little more, it works a little bit differently. It's related objects reference. So they have reporters and articles here. And it looks like an article says reporter equals models.foreign key. Reporter on delete equals models.cascade. So by the looks of it, a foreign key takes in what model it's associated with, and on delete equals models.cascade means in this case, if you delete a reporter, it'll also delete all their associated articles. And so we may want to say, okay, if you delete a user, it gets rid of all their tweets as well. So we could say, all right, a tweet's user equals models.foreign key. And then it'd be user on delete equals models.cascade. And so that'll allow a tweet to associate with a user, but it won't actually allow a user to associate with a tweet. It doesn't actually go both ways by default, because when we run our thing, so a tweet will be able to say, okay, I can see my user, but I wouldn't be able to say user.tweets. Not by default. There's something else we need to add. And let's see if we can find the way that does that.
I guess from a SQL point of view, the table for user wouldn't actually need to necessarily have a link for all the reports
Mm-hmm.
or all the tweets per se, but there would be a linking to make those, and that's what.
Mm-hmm.
So are we putting a link inside of the user? We already got one inside of the tweet. I understand that one, that makes sense, but I just wouldn't know where to put the other.
So Django has something like that built in. I just need to find the exact wording of it. So what we don't need to actually change the user table in the SQL in terms of SQL. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that in our Django ORM, the user model is going to have a method to query the database to get all of a user's tweets. So I know it's here somewhere. I believe it's associated name or something like that. Hmm. All right, so I'm looking for this and I know it exists and I'm sorry, 1 second, I'm still trying to figure this out. So Django associations, associated name, I believe that's what it's called. Related objects reference.
It's related name.
Related name, thank you. It's not there though, so let's Google that. So it's essentially when you create a foreign key right here, that means every tweet's going to have a user thing. And then we're just creating kind of the inverse of that using the related name. So I think we just need to say here, related name equals tweets. So let's try this out. So I'm going to need to write to migrate it, make a migration, I should say. So we created a new model called tweet. Then we migrate. All right, so now we can open up our shell. So I'll create a new user, this time a good user, not this invalid user. User.create. So username equals handle equals Noah. Email equals noah@codeplatoon.org. Age equals 30. No, is that not how it works? I guess I was on Ruby mode, I guess. So now we have a new user object. And so now we need to actually be able to create a tweet. And if I do u.tweets, I should get nothing. I just get this, or keyword only argument manager. All right, well, I'll worry until I actually have tweets to associate with that. If that still doesn't work, then we'll know. So I'll say, I'll make a new tweet. So t equals tweet content equals hello world. And user equals you. If I do t.save, so if I do t.user, I get to my user. If I go u.tweets, interesting. Call missing one required keyword only argument manager. This is just not my day, is it? All right, this is an error I've never seen before, so I'm going to try this out by Googling it. So Django, Google the error. This looks promising. 2 models. So objects.get ID equals 1. That's not really helping me, is it? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen, this isn't really helping me.
That that's it looks like a reverse, the reverse side. Django builds the reverse side of the relationship, so the object you're trying to access is the reverse side.
Yep.
U.tweets. Okay, so the related name tweets gets appended to the object that you're attaching to. So a user. So a user object has tweets. When you say .tweets, you have to say .all.
So u.tweets.all, like so?
Yeah. Yep.
Ah, there we go.
Because .tweets is a different kind of object. It's not a query set. It's a reverse related manager object, and it basically translates into a query set. So you have to call . It's like running a query from a model, but it's like the reverse. It's really, I was confused the first time I ran into it, but
yeah,
that's what it is.
Yep, you're right. Thank you, Chris. Yep. So there's certain things that I never get used to be honest. So like that's something that the more you work with Django, the more you'll recognize these patterns. So that related name here does create that u.tweets, which is this create reverse many-to-one manager. And to actually get the tweets themselves, you need to call .all on it, just like it's a query. It's just like if you did, if I did tweet.all, it doesn't know what I'm doing. I need to, or if I do tweet.objects. Yeah, manager object is not callable. It's very similar to that. Okay, now what is it?
Not objects.
Oh, objects isn't a method. There we go. Okay, thank you. So that's essentially how you create a basic association in a one-to-many relationship. Is you have your user, you have your onDelete, or you have your associated model, onDelete, and the related name. So all of the work has to be done by the many in the one-to-many relationship there. What questions do you have so far? All right, so let's try just adding tags as well, the last thing we do. So tag is going to have a models.model. We should be able to search by hashtag, essentially. And we can just say, call this one content as well. Don't know what else to call it. Max length equals 100. But the idea is, okay, I want to be able to see every tweet associated with a certain tag, or I should be able to see all of the tags in a tweet. So I would define the relationship between these two as a many-to-many relationship, because a tweet can have many different hashtags, and a hashtag can be associated with many different tweets. So in that case, we're going to need a join table, right? So we can also create another one called tag tweet. So let's see how many-to-many relationships work in Django. So let's see here. Article can be published in multiple publications, and a publication has multiple articles. So they have something here called a many-to-many field. Is it really that simple? So maybe we don't actually need to make a join table here, according to this. Let's try it their way. So I'm going to get rid of this. So we can say a tag. So we could say tweets equals models.many-to-many field with tweet. Yeah, that looks like it all. That seems like it's as simple as that according to them. Let's try it out. We need to make some migrations and then migrate them.
Do we need to put anything in the tweet class under like tags and the mini?
It doesn't look like that so far, but we'll figure it out.
Hey, no, I have a question. Do you have like a SQLite browser?
A SQLite browser?
Yeah, like if this is migrating to the SQLite file, do you have a SQLite browser so we can actually go look at the migrations that that might make it more clear what that many-to-many field is doing.
This isn't SQLite. This is Postgres.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know which adapter you were using.
Yep,
you were using for that.
We're using a Postgres database here. And so if I can take a look at, I can still look at the migrations though. So we can see a tag. So it says fields ID content models.char field. It looks like tweets is a models.many-to-many field that goes to twitter.tweet. So let's try this out. So I'm going to clear this. Open up the shell. So I should have, t equals tweet.first, tweet.objects.first. And I should be able to create a new hashtag. Well, yeah, I guess how would you, let's see their example here. They have different publications, they have an article, and we need to associate them. So let's create a new tag. So tag equals tag, content equals hashtag nice, tag.save. And then they use something right here called .add. So I do tag.tweets.add t. So I do tag.tweets.objects or .all. That's one that works. And let's see if it goes both ways. t.tags.all. Looks like it doesn't go both ways. So the question is, how do we make it go both ways?
No, can you do a dir on that t object you made?
So sorry, you mean like
a dir, like a I guess you could do it that way. Yeah, that way. And then these are all the properties of that object. So there might be one in there called what did you call it?
Tags.
So tag set right there, that thing that's tagged, because you didn't set a related name on the many-to-many field, Django automatically creates the relation, but gives it a different name.
So t.tag set.
And there's that thing, that related descriptor thing again. Yep, there you go.
Ah, interesting. And I thought I understood how this worked, and I guess it's different than it's done last time. Well, I'm always learning something new, so I want to thank you all for being patient with me through this. So the question is, would I be able to make it so I wouldn't have to use that default one? Is there just a related name thing here as well? Yeah, we could also just do related name equals tags, and that should be able to fix that out. I think I may need to remigrate that. Yep, I altered a field, so I need to migrate again. So now I should be able to go t equals tweet.objects.first. And I do t.tags now, .all. There we go. So that related name is the key. And it looks like what Django does is, in a many-to-many relationship, if you don't need any other unique fields in the in the many-to-many relationship in the join table, you can just use the many-to-many field and that'll take care of it for us. Yeah, it says right here, it provides a many-to-many relationship by using an intermediary model that holds two foreign key fields pointing at the two sides of the relation. So unless a through model is provided, we'll use the create many-to-many intermediate model factory. So this is an interesting thing that Django can do for us, is that it just says, all right, we know that, so it seems like the developers of Django said, creating a join table that just exists to hold two foreign keys is boring. So we've created this method to do it for you. But there are ways to create a join table between two many-to-many relationships if you need to hold on to that. Like we did, was it last week where we did actors in movies? An actor can be in many movies, a movie can have many actors. So we had role there as the character name. So that would require a different approach than this one.
Yeah, I think the one thing I don't necessarily like about their automatic approach as a one-liner is you don't actually see the tags in your class. So unless you explicitly put a comment, so in there, let's say between content and created at, insert a new line, you put a comment in there saying tags is going to be associated with tweets. You're not going to necessarily see that relationship unless you read through the entire all of the classes to see what references other classes. So I don't know, because I can see each one of these is the table. There's a field name, but now there's a field name called tags that we just created that exists within the tweet, but you won't see it until you actually read further down. So that's the one thing I don't necessarily like about the only putting it into one data as opposed to putting it in both.
I understand that, though it would be inaccurate to say that it now has a field name, because we're the related name equals here that we put here and here. That doesn't actually alter the table of our database at all. And the foreign key does, but everything else, it's just creating a method. It's creating an alias for a method essentially within our ORM without changing the database itself. And I wonder if I can find this database real quick. If I can actually find it, and so we can take a look at it. Find me later. All right. Maybe it's being a little weird right now, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. But if we could take a look at our database, we'd be able to see that tweet won't have a field called tags. And tag won't have a field called tweets.
Wait, say that again. Tag will not have a field called tweets?
Yeah, let's take a look at so if this migration, so the migration isn't really showing us what's going to show up in the database per se. Actually, let's trying to remember how to look up, so it'd be PG Twitter. Is that how it just works? No. Postgres.
P-SQL.
P-SQL, thank you. So I do /t. How do you, oh man, it's been a while since I've done this.
/d, and then the name of the table you're looking, space, and then
\d.
Yeah, all right, we got a lot of stuff here that we don't need, so \d.
By default, Django will lowercase and pluralize your class name into a table.
No, didn't do it that time, it looks like. If I do tweet, or
It has to be they prepend it by your app name.
Oh, right.
Which is
Twitter, tweet. So so our Twitter tweet has a user ID. If I do Twitter tag, there we go. It has an ID and a content. Models.many-to-many field didn't actually create anything that goes into this particular, that goes here. But if I do \d again, I may have to look for this a bit. It did create something called Twitter tag tweets for us. I do Twitter tag tweets, /D, Twitter tag tweets. So this is a join table that got created automatically. So that's what this many-to-many field thing did, is it created a join table. It didn't actually alter the tag table at all. So again, this is one of those things that Django does, and it's very like a lot of magic going on under the hood. And it makes your life easier in the long run, but occasionally we get things like this where we're like, wait, what actually happened? All right. Any other questions about this? Okay. In that case, so if you haven't finished all 3 of these challenges, keep working on them. If you do finish them, you can take this time to either go back at challenges that you've fallen behind on, or do something similar to what we were just doing now. Try modeling some kind of website on your own. Because again, the more you do this, the more you'll be able to recognize these patterns and make use of them. And that's just going to be a very important skill as we get further into the intricacies of Django. We're not going to be pairing you today, so you're still working on your own, because we realize that pairing you while you're in the middle of everyone's in different places throughout this would not make much sense. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording, and I will leave the room so I can put